Analyzing Arizona's language development approach. Arizona schools serve more than 80,000 bilingual students or English learners. An English learner is a student who is not proficient in speaking, reading, writing, and understanding English. A few instructional models will assist English learners when learning to speak a new language. The ESL model is great in schools where English learners are likely to come from a variety of first languages. This model is great because it is designed to assist students from different language backgrounds all in the same class. Even the teacher does not have to be proficient in the student's first language. In elementary school, English learners will use the pull-out program. This means that they will be pulled from their general education classrooms for a specific amount of time every day to receive their EL instruction. In middle and high school, the approach changes, and instead of pulling them out of class, the EL instruction becomes one of their classes, and they will receive credit as such. This is called the ESL class period. In schools that do not have an EL program, students may be bused to other locations to take EL instruction from an ESL resource center at a neighboring school. Another model is the bilingual program. These are different from the ESL. Bilingual programs work best when the majority of English learners all have the same first language. In this program, even the teacher needs to be proficient in the first language. This model offers 3 different programs. The first one is called the Early Exit Program. In the Early Exit Program, students start learning instruction in their home language, and then it is phased out after students can read. Home language is only used for giving directions when the English version is unclear. The second program is called the Late Exit Program. In this program, students receive 40% of their instruction in their home language. Finally, the third program is called the Two-Way Bilingual Program. This program is designed for schools where they're nearly 50-50 in English versus one other language students. The program works by breaking the class into half English proficient and half English learning. And then the instructions are given in both languages. The next model is called Sheltered English. With Sheltered English, the focus is more on the content being taught, such as math or science, rather than the focus being on learning the English. These students are given instructions in English, and teachers only need to be proficient in English. They will use hand signals and visual aids to help with communication and understanding. Finally, the last model is the Structured Immersion Program. In this program, just like with Sheltered English, English is learned through the content areas. However, the EL teachers are familiar with the student's language, and some may even be proficient, but English is only spoken. When needed to give clarity and direction and instructions, their first language may be used. Student agency is another important factor in learning English. Student agency is the way students can take ownership of their learning. It is letting the students take an idea and grow with it. There are 3 dimensions to student agency. They are dispositional, motivational, and positional. A student's disposition plays a role in their ability to act with agency. Students must be willing to learn. They must act with intention and purpose. With English learners, their driving force may be to communicate with friends or finish work without struggling to accomplish it. Motivational has to do with persisting and choice making. This is their determination to succeed. When students find something they are passionate about, they want to know more, and it gives them the motivation to keep going. With English learners, students may learn a few words and phrases for communication, and that can lead them to want to know more. And the final dimension of agency is positional. This is determined by how students interact with materials and others, such as their peers and teachers. The positional dimension is where their perspectives of themselves is shaped. Do they think they are smart, funny, or good readers? It also shapes the way they fit in and interact in social settings. For English learners, it is the same. How they interact with the ESL instruction will shape how they view themselves as English speakers. As teachers, it is important that we are encouraging and keep the flexibilities that lets our English learners learn through intention, decisions, and actions. This way, they will believe they can be fluent in English. Arizona's language development approach is based on 4 principles. These principles are asset-based behaviors and expectations, integrated instruction in disciplinary language and content, targeted and explicit language instruction, and assessment monitoring and feedback. The idea is that these principles, along with all educators, will help the student develop agency, determination, and confidence. Principle 1 is asset-based behaviors and expectations. Here, educators should recognize the importance of English learners' home language and their culture. These students come with their own background knowledge, and this is an asset that should be respected and built upon. Educators should understand that no 2 English learners are exactly the same. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, and so there is no one-size-fits-all approach. When educators reinforce a growth mindset and encourage students to understand their strengths and give them the opportunity to show what they can do, they are supporting student agency. Principle 2 is integrated instruction in disciplinary language and content. Educators are using Principle 2 when they differentiate disciplinary language instruction and by providing scaffolds to make concepts understandable so that students can apply educated choices to their learning. Students should be given a language-enriched environment to work in with plenty of opportunities for collaboration with peers. For students to develop student agency using Principle 2, educators must also provide choices or open-ended activities that allow for some creativity and ownership of their learning. Teachers should also encourage independent work in an atmosphere that promotes motivation and interaction with the language and content. Principle 3, targeted and explicit language instruction. This principle says that teachers should create opportunities and design lessons that allow the students to reflect on and use English while reading, writing, speaking, and listening across all content areas. Provide a language-rich environment that promotes critical thinking and problem solving while also providing content that aligns with the English language proficiency standards. To support student agency with Principle 3, students should be provided a learning environment that supports initiative and encourages independent learning with effective strategies and provides choices and open-ended activities that allows them to practice those strategies. Finally, Principle 4 is assessment, monitoring, and feedback. Teachers must align lessons and assessments to the Arizona English Language Proficiency Standards. Formative and summative assessments must use language-enriched content. Teachers must use rubrics and data to give content knowledge, skill development, and language development feedback. This can be collected using daily formative assessments. Then this data should be used to create lessons, support student language development. Assessment, monitoring, and feedback will encourage student agency when teachers provide lessons that encourage ownership in learning. Teachers should provide regular feedback. This gives students plenty of time to show what they can do while encouraging them to be aware of their strengths and needs and allowing them to learn how to self-reflect on their learning. These things are important when you want students to take ownership of their learning or show agency. In Arizona, they use structural English immersion, or SEI. Here are the 4 researched SEI models approved in Arizona and how they work with the 4 principles of the Arizona Language Developmental Approach. The 4 research-based SEI models are the pull-out model, the 2-hour model, the newcomer model, and the 50-50 dual language immersion model. Principle 1 and 4 work with all the models in the same way. Principle 1 works with each model by having teachers set high expectations for English learners, not only academically, but emotionally and socially. And Principle 4 works with each model by making sure that the teachers have a variety of data to track student progress. Now, here is where they differ. The pull-out model, Principle 2, The pull-out model says that English learners in elementary school will be pulled out of their general education classrooms for SEI instruction for 1 hour a day. And in middle school and in high school, this will be cut back to just 50 minutes a day. And this is for language instruction. Principle 3 says that English learners in elementary school will be pulled out of their general education classrooms for SEI instruction for 1 hour a day. And in middle school, this will be cut back for 50 minutes per day. But this is for targeted ELD, English language development time, with an ELD certified specialist. The 2-hour model. Principle 2 says that with the 2-hour model, students need to work daily with others who speak the same first language as them. And Principle 3 says, using the 2-hour model, that students in elementary school will spend 2 hours a day with an ELD specialist in an SEI classroom working on targeted ELD instruction. The newcomer model. Principle 2 says that the newcomer model requires students to spend 2 hours a day while in elementary school and 1 hour and 40 minutes in middle and high school in an SEI instruction for language instruction. And Principle 3 says that the newcomer model requires students to spend 2 hours a day while in elementary school and 1 hour and 40 minutes in middle and high school in SEI instruction. And this is for language instruction with an ELD specialist. The 50-50 dual language immersion, DLI, Principle 2 says that the 50-50 DLI model requires elementary English learners to spend 1.5 hours and middle and high school learners to spend 1 hour and 15 minutes daily in English language instruction. No bilingual waiver is needed. And Principle 3 says that elementary school learners need to spend 30 minutes a day, and middle and high school students 25 minutes a day with a certified ELD specialist. This is how English learners receive instructions and help in Arizona. Thank you and have a blessed day.